Hi, my name is Corey Patterson. This is my presentation on productive and counterproductive behaviors in the workplace. I'd like to start out with the question related to recent historical events that have affected the course of history in organizational psychology. Um, Really, the history of organizational psychology is pretty short. Really, it's grown over the last 100 years or so, and what we've seen is that when certain things happen within the world, the research focus changes on a lot of the different aspects of organizational and industrial psychology. Um, One of the big events that's currently going on that I see as something that is changing the way that people look at organizational psychology is the retirement of baby boomers. We've never in our history seen this many people either retiring or being close to retirement, and with that comes a whole new workforce. It causes a whole change of the workforce. People of the baby boomer age group have different work mentalities, different work life mentalities than some of the newer generations. And as these people retire, you have to socialize them as they retire, and you have to socialize in new people to replace them. And what you find is that the way that you socialized those baby boomers, what motivated those baby boomers, is something that's totally different than what you have to do today. In my experience as a leader at manufacturing plants and at chemical plants is that those baby boomers had a different style of work. They came to work to do what they wanted to do. They came to work because they thought they were supposed to do that. It was important to them. And these newer generations, what you find is that work isn't that important to them. They're doing it because it's a necessity to survive, and that motivation to just get told to do something and go do it isn't the same as it used to be. The next question I'd really like to touch on is the socialization process for graduate students in Liberty Online. For me, it's the program I'm in. And the first thing that stuck out is the new student orientation that they send emails out, and it's a huge deal where you go in and you just kind of get a feeling for Liberty and what's important to Liberty and its core values and its connection with God. And what you see then is there's a graduate online orientation where it's just like working out a Canvas, where you kind of get used to the flow of things in Canvas if you've never done that before, and you kind of get to trial out the different things, turn in an assignment and get graded on it. And then also there's more aspects about what Liberty really is, and it kind of brings you into the fold as a Liberty student. And from there, as you start classes, another socialization factor are introduction boards, where everybody kind of gets an opportunity. You're not doing that one-on-one in-person class thing, and so you don't really know your professors, you don't really know the other students in your class, and you're kind of a separate entity. And these introduction boards kind of give you the opportunity to meet the people that you're going to interact with, and the people that are going to determine the grades that you get and teach you the things that you need to learn to succeed. And from there, there's the discussion boards. It's creating that feeling of camaraderie amongst the rest of the students, and kind of gives that feeling of being in class and makes you feel more like a student. And the other thing that really stuck out to me about Liberty is, the constant events that they're having, trying to bring people in, different things that Liberty's putting on, or even just the events that happen at Liberty. One of the coolest things I've had in my online college experience, or just any college experience, is when Liberty went to play in the Fiesta Bowl. I think it was the Fiesta Bowl. Got a phone call, I know it's pre-recorded and all that, but I got a phone call from the head coach to come support them. And I think that's really neat, and it made me feel really a part of the organization and a part of the team and a part of Liberty. With that, as I continue, so pretty early on, I think that there's more opportunity to feel a part of the group, and I'm trying to jump right in, not just my personality, but I really think that there is a socialization process. New students, not only just in the graduate programs or the online programs, but just socialization in general in the university. The next question I want to touch on is, how can organizations reduce or prevent work-family conflict? I'm going to really lean on the experience I have to answer this question, as well as the text that we use. But work-family policies, elder care, education, volunteering, self-care, exercise, those things are really important to helping manage that for the employees, but also for the workforce. And I recently changed jobs, and one of the main reasons was because my previous job, I didn't have a good work-life balance. I worked shift work, but I was kind of expected to be on call all the time. I was expected to answer my phone all the time and be there when they needed me, and it was hard to take days off because I was here and nobody else was there. And one of the things that really sold me on my new organization was that I was told, you will have a work-life balance. I do not want you at work super early or super late. When you're on days off and you're not on call, you don't need to answer the phone. And that hasn't entirely worked out, because I'm in a position right now where I'm about the only person that can do my job at my work, and we're working on resolving that. But that's been one of the focuses of my superiors, is that they are trying to get me help so that I can be home with my son, so that I can be here doing my schoolwork. Another thing is the family-friendly things, and I hadn't really seen a lot of that until I moved to this new organization. But it's stuff like flex time and telecommuting, job sharing. Like, let's both work on this together, and you only work so many hours, and I only work so many hours. And then another thing that they're really pushing hard right now, and it's part of the supervisor behaviors and the culture of the environment, is they're pushing this like maternity, paternity leave, where moms, dads, it doesn't matter. You get 6 weeks off to be there at the birth of a child or an adoption of a child, and those type of things really make a difference. And if the supervisors, which is what I am, are pushing people to take time off, and we have mental health days, and I think that that's an incredible thing where you give people a mental health day, and it's not perfect, right? Because you need people at work, which we'll get to here before too long, but it's an important thing to give people and recognize that people need to have that balance. The other thing is to teach people time management behaviors. It's really important for people to recognize, okay, when I'm at work, I'm focused on work, I'm going to take care of work, but I'm going to go home. And that's something that I've really worked on at my new place, is that I get to work early because I need to, because of what my job requires. But when it's time to go home, to my boss, I'm home. Nobody argues. Nobody says, hey, you need to stay late, you need to do this. It's, you go home. And I can kind of separate that. And I think that's a really big part of reducing work-family conflict. Next thing is, how would I develop a performance assessment? Been through a lot of performance reviews in my life, and kind of learned a lot from the chapter. My biggest takeaways were task ratings, global ratings, and job skills tests. I mean, I think that those three are super important. On that though, I think you've got to make sure that those ratings are objective, because I've been in a situation where this rating is subjective, this rating is objective, and you don't know what's important to the person giving you the rating. Like, I've been in ones where I was, you're a 5 here, you're top notch here, but you're kind of a 3 here, and the people you're competing with, they're a 5 here, and this is the one we're really looking at this year, and you don't know that going into it, and it changes year to year. And I think that if I were creating a performance evaluation process, it would be focused on, okay, these in-work behaviors, how do you function? And I really like the idea of having, okay, this is what an exceptional behavior looks like. Do you do those things? And that's something in my new corporation that actually does. They're saying, this is the behaviors that a 5 or an excellent or whatever you want to call it, this is what they expect of you. And this is the only way you're going to get a 5. And you all year long, what is expected of you. you know what it's going to take to get that higher performance rating. I think that's super important, and it's not subjective. And I know that the text talks about how sometimes subjective is good, and it can sometimes more accurately predict performance and evaluate performance. But in the experience that I've had, having that objective, knowing what's expected of you, knowing what it's going to take to get that really good raise or get that really good bonus or get that promotion is super important to creating these performance evaluations. And I think, you know, having a skill test for maybe some of the frontline workers to where it's okay, you know, everybody's going to get a raise this year. That's kind of the way that I work right now, but it's who's going to get that progression to that higher rate, you know, because you got B ratings, A ratings, stuff like that. And it's show me what you can do on the field. Show me that you can do what's asked of you, you know, and that's part of the progressions that we're building in my work now is where it's here's the expectation to be a B. Here's the expectation to be an A. And it has behaviors, it has safety, it has knowledge, it has technical skills, it has troubleshooting skills. And, you know, developing that has kind of given me a different insight of what it takes to really create a positive performance evaluation process. And with that, you know, talking about counterproductive behaviors and how the workplace can lead to those. You know, I've kind of touched on them a little bit, experience with performance evaluations and different experiences with work-family conflict and things like that. But, you know, sometimes those are the norms, and the norms can dictate how a person acts at work. You know, if it's normal for, it's about half an hour till quitting time, I'm just going to sit here and check out my phone, or I'm going to, you know, disappear for half an hour, or, you know, I've seen those memes where it's, you know, I get paid by the hour, so I'm going to go to the bathroom on work company time, you know. Those are, you know, taking from the organization, which would be considered, and there's volition behind them, and they're considered counterproductive. The other one that sticks out, especially in the two different places that I've been recently for work, is work absenteeism policies. You know, I've seen one that was like really, really strict and you had X, and if you crossed that line, you know, it was discipline, and you know that made it easier to manage, but it also created that conflict where there was some volition to people trying to figure out ways to get out of that policy. Where I'm at now, where it's a little more lenient, you get PTO and stuff like that, you know, you see people at the end of the year kind of take advantage of it because they don't want to get paid out their sick hours because of taxes and stuff like that. So they're not really being malicious to the company by taking that time off at the end of the year. We give them the time off, right? But, you know, those policies can certainly affect those counterproductive behaviors. Some other ones, you know, that really stuck out from the text are poor equipment, and that one's tough. You know, a lot of these places are either really lean or they're trying to save some money, and the equipment still works. Maybe it doesn't work as good as something that's brand new off the market, and it costs a lot of money to replace it. And, you know, you start to get, well, if they don't want to replace it, then I'm not going to, you know, why should I care? And you start to get those counterproductive behaviors from that. Unnecessary rules, you know, rules that just are there to catch somebody doing something wrong, I think is another one. You know, it's like, well, you think I'm doing something wrong all the time, I might as well do something wrong, you know, and it kind of leads to that behavior of employee versus management and stuff like that are really dangerous in the workplace. That goes with policies and things like that, you know, and the way that those are handed down. You know, a lot of these rules and policies, they're there for a reason, and they make a lot of sense, but when you have people that choose which ones to use on their own, and you have ones that they're like, well, it says up to and including termination, it's going to be termination every single time. I think you start to get these behaviors of, well, I don't even want to come to work because it's not a good place to be. They're out to get me, so I'm going to be out to get them. And you really have this battle that gets created in these situations. And I think that those constraints that the organization puts upon itself a lot of times can lead to that. And, you know, back to the idea of poor equipment and money, you know, it's one thing I've seen a lot in the organizations I've worked in is this production over safety idea. You know, but then you have the behaviors from the people that are unsafe behaviors, and it just kind of creates this big circle that nobody wins. The company is at odds with the employee's at odds with the company, and it goes back to work family conflict and work non-work conflict and this whole idea of organizational psychology. Um, Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Have a great evening.